Hi, I just want to talk real quick today about growing your seeds and starting them indoors with natural sunlight instead of using grow lights. This is something that I've done for at least 5 years, and I grow every season. Every growing season, I grow in the spring, summer, and fall, so I've started a lot of seeds this way. And I just want to make sure to let new gardeners know that if you are going to use sunlight, like a south-facing window, to start your seeds, do be aware that this is a very labor-intensive way to start your seeds. Okay, I will tell you real quick how what I have to do when I start my seeds without grow lights. Now, I have nothing against grow lights. It's just the way I garden. This is something that I've always done. Because I'm home a lot, I'm an at-home mom. I'm not usually away from the house for more than around 4 hours at a time. I can check on my seedlings. Okay, obviously if I go out of town for a couple of days, the seedlings, they're fine to be left alone for a little while. But I just want to say that I treat them like they're little babies, like it's a little puppy dog that's getting house trained, or a newborn baby. These little seedlings, I have to watch them all the time. If I put them in my south-facing window, and if you've started seeds this way before, you know that they're going to stretch to try to get the sunlight. Their little leaves are going to turn to face the sun so they can get the sunlight to grow. Well, I have to turn my tray a lot, my seedling tray, just to make sure that they don't stretch to try to get the sun. So what I try to do is just mimic the natural environment of a seed that would grow in the outdoors, that would fall in the soil and how it would grow. So once it's germinated and sprouted, I start to try to move it outside. And this is where it really becomes a lot of work, because once I move it outside, I have to make sure that the conditions are right for a seedling. You can't just move it outside when it's windy or you're expecting rain. The rain could break the seedlings and the wind will dry them out. If it's too hot, they'll get dried out. You have to make sure you put them in a shady area where they get just a little bit of sun. But I'll do this when they're just very, very young. So, and I try to water them with rainwater. So, like, I'll give you an example. Last year, I moved my seedlings out, and they were probably about 6 weeks old at that point. They already had their real leaves and everything, their true leaves. And a hailstorm came out of nowhere, and I just obviously had to hurry up and get them inside. And we're talking about, I don't know, I had about 6 trays of 15 4-inch pots. That's a lot to put inside your house. And I had to put a tarp out on my living room floor and bring them in as fast as I could, and it was just hailing. It was awful, but they survived. They did fine. But so I'm saying, you cannot just like leave them unattended. So this is just something I want to put out there, especially for new gardeners. You'll be very disappointed if you try to use just a south-facing window to start your seeds, unless you can get them somewhere protected outside for a few hours each day. And there's a lot of really good gardeners too on YouTube who just use sunlight to start their seeds, and I'll try to include links to give you some examples of different gardeners and some of my past videos of how I use south-facing windows to start my seeds. The other location where I lived in Florida, it was zone 8B, and I had the only south-facing window I had in my house was in our guest bedroom. And so I actually took a shower curtain and hung it over the south-facing window, because it's kind of like a little alcove, so a shelf fit in there perfectly to start my seeds. And then I disguised it with a real curtain on the outside of the shower curtain, but the shower curtain helped to keep it nice and humid and warm in there for the seeds and for the little plants. And it worked wonderfully. And I have tours of the garden that to show you how the seeds did, how the tomato plants did. They didn't turn out leggy and all that. They produced wonderfully. And so that's one reason I always try to give garden tours too, so that anyone that follows my videos, you can kind of see how they did or how they fared and that kind of thing. But I really just wanted to put this video out there so that anyone that's thinking of starting seeds for the first time this year, do know that you need to get a grow light system if you're not going to be around to babysit your plants. I do think that sunlight really reduces any kind of diseases and funguses, gnats, or whatever kind of problems you experience. I don't have those problems. They work out just fine. If anything's left inside and not exposed to sunlight, I found like that's when I have problems. I have funguses and molds and stuff that's indoors all the time. The sunlight corrects all of those problems. So I just encourage, especially any gardener, even if you are using grow lights, try to get your plants outside and exposed to ultraviolet light, real ultraviolet light, and you will notice your plants will love it. Just to be in the natural environment. Try to collect rainwater to water your plants with if you don't already have a barrel connected to your gutter system. I had a wonderful one in Florida that I use. I have a wonderful composter that I can collect tea from, and there are so many ways to just go ahead and start getting your plant used to the natural environment it's going to eventually end, where it's going to eventually end up, and that's in your garden. And I don't feed my seedlings anything. I just try to give them some nice, rich compost, enriched soil, okay? And I will give them tea probably before I start moving them into the garden if it looks like they need it. But other than that, rainwater, sunlight, I just try to go with what they would normally naturally experience in a natural environment outside. Okay, so I'm going to show you real quick what I've got going on right now. It's cool today. It's probably about 65 degrees. It's late February, and it's not windy, and we had rain this morning, but the rain has cleared up, so there's a little bit of humidity in the air. And I moved out a couple of trays of seedlings I started 10 days ago. I've already thinned them, which is I will include a link to on how to do that. If you're new, you have to go ahead and thin your seedlings once they get up, once they've germinated. You want to go ahead and give them some room so their roots can start developing and that kind of thing. So I'll show you real quick what I've got going on. First, I'll go ahead and show you this before I head out back to show you the seedlings. This is my kaffir lime tree, and I have been enjoying this. It's just wonderful. The limes have just been falling off every day. They are ready. There's one just fell off there. I've been using those. I know I've heard before, don't use the lime juice from the kaffir limes, but because it's too tangy or whatever, but I do. I like it. So I use that. I've been using the leaves, obviously, for cooking. And so I've been enjoying it, and I'll show you out here what I'm talking about. And I also include another link of last year where I moved my seedlings out. You can get a better idea there of what I'm talking about when I say I try to use outdoors as much as possible when I start my seedlings. Very important. Alright, so here's some kale and broccoli and cabbage. All those came up very nicely, very quick. And then some of the other ones that are a little bit slower germinating have germinated. And so pretty soon I'll be moving some of these into 4-inch pots. I've thinned them. I'll include a link on there so you will know how to thin your seedlings when they come up too. This one I need to thin. There's 2 per that cell. Over here, I haven't thinned these yet because they have just recently germinated. I think some of those are celery. Alright, and then I moved some of my lemongrass out into 4-inch pots. This is some that I have propagated. So that's just they really were wanting some nutrition. So I went ahead and moved them into some compost-rich soil, put them outside and let the rain fall on them this morning. And all these I'll be bringing inside in just a little while. I'll try to move them out maybe about 3 hours a day for sunlight. Okay, so there's my dormant garden, and some of it's empty. I have already planted radishes and sugar snap peas, and so I'll get some of that going already. And thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to try to help you. And hopefully this helps all the new gardeners out there, and maybe even some of you experienced gardeners. All right, thanks for watching.